You ever notice how being human is just a constant disaster that somehow keeps going? Like, nobody really knows what they're doing, but everyone's walking around pretending they've got it all figured out. People wake up in the morning like, yeah, I got this. When in reality, they don't even know what this is. You're just a slightly confused animal wearing pants, trying to act like you belong on this planet. That's the funniest part, that we all agreed to play along. Pretending that life is some organized thing, like we're all in a movie where everyone got the script except you. You ever have that moment when you're just sitting there and realize, wait, is this it? Like, you're drinking coffee, scrolling through your phone, thinking, I guess this is what being alive feels like? And then you remember you've got bills, you're late on something, your body's slowly giving up on you, and somehow you're still expected to smile. Humans are the only species that pays money just to stay alive. You ever think about that? A bird doesn't get a mortgage, a dog doesn't have to file taxes, but you're sitting there working 9 hours a day so you can afford to eat food and sit on a couch for 2 hours before you pass out and do it all over again. That's not a life plan, that's a bad loop. The truth is, life is just one long series of small humiliations strung together by snacks. You start as a baby screaming because you're uncomfortable, and you end as an adult screaming internally for the exact same reason. Nothing really changes, you just learn to do it quietly so people don't think you've lost your mind. We spend all this time trying to act like we've evolved, like we're sophisticated, but deep down, we're still just emotional toddlers who can drive. That's all adulthood is, trying not to cry in public while pretending to understand your own Wi-Fi router. And everyone's pretending to be normal, which is hilarious because there's no such thing. Everyone's just weird in different fonts. You meet someone who seems totally together, and then 2 weeks later you realize they talk to their plants in full sentences, or they rehearse arguments in the shower like it's a courtroom drama. We all have those private, insane little behaviors that keep us barely functioning. But we hide them like secrets because the world taught us to act like we're fine. How are you? I'm good. No, you're not. Nobody's good. You're just temporarily not crying. And that's okay. That's the beautiful mess of being human. You're allowed to fall apart a little. You're allowed to be confused and scared and not know what you're doing. That's what makes you real. The people who look like they have it all together are usually one bad day away from eating ice cream straight out of the tub while watching videos of people renovating bathrooms for no reason. Because deep down, everyone's just trying to find a reason to feel okay for 5 minutes. You ever notice how we take everything so seriously? Like we're all in some kind of cosmic competition to see who can be the most productive, the most successful, the most liked. But none of it really matters. We're floating on a rock in space, screaming at each other through tiny screens, pretending our opinions are worth something, and that's funny because we know it's ridiculous, but we keep doing it anyway. We keep caring about what strangers think, we keep comparing ourselves to people we don't even like, and we keep chasing this imaginary version of happiness that doesn't exist. And even when we do get something, we want a job, a car, a relationship, it's never enough. There's always this tiny, annoying voice in your head going, okay, cool, but now what? It's like life keeps moving the goalpost just to mess with you. You can never fully win. You can just get slightly less miserable in nicer clothes. That's why the most honest people are the ones who admit that they have no idea what they're doing. Those people are free. They're not trapped in the illusion that there's some grand order to things. They just show up, try their best, and laugh when it falls apart. Because it always does. You ever spill coffee on yourself on the way to work, and you just stand there like, yeah, this makes sense. That's life giving you a gentle reminder that you're not in control. You can plan, you can prepare, you can tell yourself this time it'll be different, but the universe has a way of saying, nah. And somehow, that's the funniest thing about existence, the fact that nothing goes the way you think it will, but you still get up every day and give it another shot. That's bravery disguised as routine. We're all just trying to survive the absurdity of existence. You laugh, you cry, you make mistakes, you say the wrong thing. You lose people, you find new ones, you eat too much, you love too hard, and through it all, you keep pretending it's normal. But it's not normal. None of this is normal. It's miraculous and stupid and beautiful and terrifying all at once. The fact that you even exist right now, that you're a bunch of atoms who somehow became self-aware enough to complain about slow Wi-Fi, that's insane. But that's the trick, isn't it? Once you stop expecting life to make sense, it actually starts to... Once you stop chasing perfection and start laughing at the chaos, you finally get it. You realize that maybe the whole point isn't to figure it all out. Maybe the point is just to be here, confused, imperfect, and alive. Because underneath all the noise, there's something kind of beautiful about not knowing. There's something freeing about admitting you're lost. You stop pretending to have all the answers, and instead, you start really living the questions. And sometimes that's all you can do, just live through it. Be messy, be honest, be ridiculous. You don't need to have a plan, you don't need to have it all together, nobody does. The people who look like they do are just better at faking it. So instead of chasing that impossible version of yourself, just sit with who you are now, the awkward, anxious, hopeful version that keeps trying even when it doesn't make sense. Because that's the real you, and that's where all the humor and humanity live. The thing about being human is that it's both tragic and hilarious at the same time. You're this fragile little creature trying to make meaning in a universe that doesn't care, and somehow you still find reasons to laugh. You stub your toe and curse the floor. You cry over a movie you've seen 10 times. You fall in love, you get hurt, you heal, and then you do it all over again. You never really learn. You just get better at pretending you did. And maybe that's the secret. Not perfection, not control, just endurance with a sense of humor. Because at the end of the day, life isn't about having everything figured out. It's about showing up to the circus every morning and laughing when the tent catches fire. That's the only way to survive this ridiculous miracle we call existence. And if you can laugh at it, really laugh, then you've already won. Pain is a weird thing, isn't it? It's the only thing every single person on this planet has in common, and yet we all act surprised when it shows up. Like every time something bad happens, we're shocked. Why me? Because you're alive, that's why. The moment you were born, you basically signed a contract saying, I agree to be occasionally miserable for no clear reason. That's the deal. Nobody gets a happy-only version of life. You get the full package: joy, heartbreak, confusion, random back pain, all of it, whether you like it or not. And the funny part is, pain doesn't even wait for big tragedies. It just shows up anywhere, anytime, like a drunk uncle who doesn't need an invitation. You can be having a great day, music's playing, sun's shining, your coffee actually tastes right for once, and then out of nowhere, your brain just goes, hey, remember that embarrassing thing you said 8 years ago? Boom, happiness gone, instant suffering. That's how fragile peace is. You can ruin your whole mood just by remembering you exist. But pain has this weird dual nature. It destroys you and teaches you at the same time. You ever notice that? The worst moments of your life are usually the ones that shape you the most. Nobody grows from being happy. Happiness is lazy. It's like sitting in a warm bath. You don't think about anything, you just soak. But pain forces you to change. It makes you pay attention. It strips you down until you see yourself clearly. No filters, no pretending. Pain is the universe's way of saying, hey, stop acting like you've got it all figured out. Here's a reminder that you don't. And somehow, that's what makes it funny. Not the suffering itself, but the way we handle it. Humans are the only species that can feel deep emotional pain and still stop to take a selfie about it. You'll be crying your eyes out 1 minute, and then 5 minutes later, you're posting a quote about healing energy with a flower emoji. Like, what are we doing? We're ridiculous creatures. We'll go through heartbreak, swear we'll never love again, and 3 weeks later, we're in someone else's DMs saying, you seem different. No, they don't. You're just bored and optimistic again. We keep getting hurt because we keep expecting life to make sense. We think there's supposed to be justice, that good people deserve good things and bad people deserve bad ones. But life doesn't care about your moral logic. It's completely random. Sometimes you can do everything right and still get crushed. And sometimes the most annoying people you know end up thriving for no reason. That's the part that drives us crazy, the unfairness of it all. But that's where the humor lives too. Because if life isn't fair, if it's all chaos anyway, then you might as well laugh at how absurd it all is. You ever get your heart broken and look back later like, wow, I cried over that person? Like you were convinced you couldn't live without them, and now you can't even remember their favorite food. That's how temporary pain is. It feels eternal when you're in it, but give it some time and you'll be laughing at how dramatic you were. Pain always tricks you into thinking it'll last forever, but it never does. That's the comedy of it, that something can feel like the end of your world, and then one day, it's just gone. You move on. You start caring about new stupid things. And isn't it strange how we're drawn to pain? We say we want peace, but we chase chaos like it's on sale. We pick the wrong people, take the wrong jobs, make the same mistakes, and then act shocked when it hurts. It's like we forget pain every time until it hits us again, and then we go, oh right, this part sucks. Maybe that's just human nature to keep touching the stove just to see if it's still hot. Spoiler, it always is. But here's the thing, pain makes you interesting. People who've never been through anything are boring. They're like unseasoned soup. Pain adds flavor. It gives you depth, perspective, empathy. When you've suffered, you stop judging people as harshly. You realize everyone's just doing their best to hold it together. That's why laughter feels so good when you're hurting. It's like your soul's way of saying, I'm still here. You can't fake that kind of laughter. It comes from somewhere real. And you ever notice how pain brings people together? Like, you could be sitting with a stranger, and the moment you both start talking about something painful, suddenly there's connection. You're not strangers anymore. You're humans. It's weird how laughter and pain use the same muscles, both make you breathe harder, both make you tear up, both remind you that you're alive. Maybe that's why the funniest stories always come from the hardest moments. You survive something awful, and later, when the sting fades, you can finally see how ridiculous it was. That's the secret nobody tells you. Comedy and tragedy are the same thing, just different timing. When you're in pain, it's tragedy. When you've healed, it's comedy. It's all perspective. Time doesn't erase pain, it just gives you enough distance to find the punchline. You start realizing that the stuff you thought would destroy you actually became the reason you're stronger now. It's like emotional recycling. You turn your garbage into something useful. And if you pay attention, you'll notice pain has a pattern. It always shows up when you've gotten too comfortable. You're coasting, feeling safe, and suddenly life hits you with something that knocks the air out of you. You think, why now? But maybe it's just life's way of keeping you awake. Because comfort dulls you. Growth doesn't come from peace. It comes from friction. You don't learn from being right, you learn from being broken. We act like we want an easy life, but deep down, we don't. We need struggle. Without it, we'd be empty. If everything worked out all the time, you'd never feel joy, because there'd be nothing to compare it to. You need the dark to see the light. You need pain to recognize laughter. You need loss to understand gratitude. It's all part of the same deal. You can't pick one and skip the other. So the next time you're hurting, try not to fight it so hard. Just sit with it. Let it do its job. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, and it doesn't care about your schedule, but it's trying to show you something. Maybe it's teaching you to let go. Maybe it's showing you what matters. Or maybe it's just reminding you that you're alive. Either way, it's part of you. You can't escape it, but you can learn to dance with it. And if you can laugh through it even a little, that's power. That's how you take back control. Because laughter doesn't erase pain, it transforms it. It's the sound of survival. It's your spirit saying, you didn't break me. That's why the funniest people are often the ones who've been through the most. They've learned how to turn their suffering into something that connects, something that heals, something that reminds everyone that we're all in the same ridiculous boat. Pain will always be there, showing up uninvited, but if you can face it with honesty and a little bit of humor, it loses its power. It becomes part of your story, not the whole thing. And maybe that's the point, not to avoid pain, but to live through it, laugh through it, and come out the other side with a better story to tell. Because if you can still laugh after everything you've been through, you've already won. People are weird. That's the first thing you realize once you start paying attention. Everyone's just a little bit awful in their own unique way. We love pretending we're good people, that we've got morals and compassion and all that noble stuff. But deep down, we're all just a bunch of self-centered creatures trying to look decent while doing whatever benefits us most. And that's not even a criticism, it's just the truth. The funny thing is, once you admit that, life actually gets easier. You stop expecting perfection from people, and suddenly, the world becomes a lot more understandable. You ever see someone act shocked when somebody disappoints them? Like, I can't believe they did that. Really? You can't believe a human did something selfish? That's like being surprised water is wet. Of course they did that. People are a mix of good intentions and bad impulses, constantly battling in their heads. The only reason some people look better than others is because they're better at hiding their bad impulses. That's it. Nobody's pure. Everyone's got something they'd rather you didn't know. And if you don't think you do, that's your thing, denial. We all like to think we're the exception, though. Everyone thinks they're the good one. You'll cut someone off in traffic and justify it like, I'm just in a hurry. But if someone cuts you off, suddenly they're the devil. It's hilarious how we create a whole moral system that only makes sense when we do the bad thing. You ever notice that? We always have a reason. I lied because I didn't want to hurt them. I cheated because I wasn't happy. I stole because I needed it more. It's never, I did it because I'm flawed. We don't do honesty that well. People talk about honesty like it's some kind of superpower. But real honesty, the kind that shows your ugly side, that's rare. Because the moment you show who you really are, people get uncomfortable. We're fine with truth as long as it's flattering. But once it hits where it hurts, everyone panics. That's why we hide behind small talk and filters and fake smiles. We're scared that if we show too much of our real selves, no one will like us. The irony is, everyone else is thinking the same thing. So we all walk around pretending to be normal while quietly falling apart. You ever be at a party and realize halfway through that everyone's faking it? The laughter's too loud, the smile's too practiced, and you're just standing there thinking, man, we're all acting. Nobody's as confident or as happy as they look. Half the people in that room probably cried in the car on the way there. And yet we call it socializing. It's like we're all in this unspoken competition to look like we're fine. But the moment someone breaks that illusion, admits they're struggling, admits they're not okay, suddenly everyone feels human again. That's the beautiful part of seeing how awful we all are. It creates connection. When you accept your own flaws, you start having more patience for everyone else's. You stop expecting people to be better than you, and instead, you see that they're just as confused and messy as you are. You start forgiving people faster, not because they deserve it, but because you understand how hard it is just to be a person. It's not easy walking around with a brain that won't shut up, emotions that don't make sense, and a constant fear of being judged. No wonder we screw up. And let's be real, we're not just awful to others, we're awful to ourselves too. We're cruel in ways we'd never admit out loud. We judge ourselves for things nobody else even notices. We replay our mistakes like it's our favorite movie, over and over, until we've convinced ourselves we're the villain in our own story. But we're not villains, we're just humans, trying to do better with limited tools. Everyone's just improvising. Some people are better at hiding the chaos, but nobody escapes it. You ever try to meditate? Everyone says it's supposed to bring peace. No, it doesn't. You sit in silence for 5 minutes, and suddenly your brain turns into a screaming toddler, throwing opinions everywhere. Why did you say that in 2014? You're behind in life. You need to lose weight. You should call your mom. It's chaos. That's what's living inside all of us. So yeah, people are awful, but mostly because their minds are noisy prisons they can't escape from. If you saw the mess inside someone's head, you'd probably forgive them for most of the stupid things they've done. We all crave understanding, but we're terrible at giving it. Everyone wants to be heard, but nobody wants to listen. You ever talk to someone who's just waiting for their turn to speak? They're not listening to you. They're just holding their breath until they can start talking about themselves again. We're all guilty of it. It's not because we don't care. It's because we're trapped in our own stories. We think our pain, our experience, our version of events is the center of the universe. It's not selfish, it's just human. And yet, there's something kind of beautiful about it. Because even though we're selfish, insecure, impatient creatures, we still try. We still love. We still apologize. We still show up for each other, even when it's inconvenient. That's what makes being human such a contradiction. We're capable of horrible things and incredible kindness at the same time. You can see someone being rude 1 second and tender the next. You can watch someone make a huge mistake and then spend years trying to make up for it. We're all walking contradictions, good and bad, cruel and kind, broken and hopeful. That's why it's so funny when people talk about good people and bad people. There's no such thing. There are just people sometimes doing good things, sometimes doing bad ones. You can't separate the two. You're not one fixed identity. You're 100 different versions of yourself, depending on the day, the mood, or who you're talking to. Sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're the problem. And that's okay. The sooner you stop trying to be perfect, the sooner you start being real. We spend so much time trying to curate our image to be seen as kind, funny, smart, attractive. But the truth is, nobody's really paying that much attention. Everyone's too busy worrying about how they look. You could trip in public, spill your drink, embarrass yourself completely, and 5 minutes later, everyone's forgotten. We overestimate how much people care, and it's exhausting. Once you realize nobody's watching you as closely as you think, you finally relax. You stop performing and start existing. And maybe that's the whole point, to realize that we're all awful, yes, but we're also all trying. That's the beauty of it. The hypocrisy, the contradiction, the mess, that's what makes people fascinating. You can hate humanity 1 minute and love it the next. You can lose faith in people, and then a stranger will do something kind that restores it instantly. We're inconsistent, unpredictable, emotional disasters, and somehow it works. When you understand that everyone's just as lost as you are, you stop taking things so personally. You stop expecting people to behave like ideal versions of themselves. You start laughing more, forgiving, faster, and worrying less about being liked. You realize that maybe the whole game of being human isn't about being good, it's about being aware. Aware of your flaws, aware of your contradictions, and aware that everyone else has theirs too. Because at the end of the day, we're all the same. We want love, we want peace, we want to feel like we matter, and we'll mess up endlessly trying to get there. But maybe that's what makes it all worth it. The fact that we're terrible, selfish, confused beings who still find ways to care, to help, to laugh, that's not something to fix. That's something to be in awe of. And once you see that, once you accept how flawed we all are, you can finally stop pretending, stop fighting, and just breathe. Because we're not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to be human. You ever catch yourself staring at your phone for so long that when you finally look up, you have no idea what time it is, where you are, or what you were even looking for in the first place? Like you just woke up from a small digital coma. It's insane how much of our lives we spend hunched over glowing rectangles now. We used to look up at the stars and wonder about life. Now we look down at screens and wonder why our Wi-Fi is slow. Humanity's entire posture has changed. We're not evolving anymore. We're buffering. It's funny because technology was supposed to make life easier, right? Save us time, connect us, make us happier. But now we're spending all that saved time scrolling through people we don't even like, comparing our lives to theirs, wondering why their brunch looks better than ours. We're not connected, we're just available. There's a big difference. Connection means being present with someone. Availability means your phone's on. And that's all we really are anymore. Notifications in each other's pockets, buzzing and blinking for attention. You ever notice how we don't even let ourselves be bored anymore? Like the moment we have 10 seconds of silence, our hands automatically reach for the phone like it's a reflex. We can't even sit in an elevator without pretending to check something. What are you checking, man? Nobody's sending you life-changing news between floors. But it's not about the information, it's about the distraction. We're addicted to not being alone with our own thoughts. Because being alone with your thoughts is terrifying. That's where all the real stuff lives, the doubts, the fears, the sadness, the things you haven't dealt with. So instead, we drown it out. We fill every quiet second with noise, videos, messages, podcasts, whatever it takes. We tell ourselves it's productivity, but really, it's escape. We don't want to feel anything real because real feelings are messy. They're not filtered, they're not shareable, and they don't get likes. So we trade them for the digital version, tiny little dopamine hits that fade as fast as they come. The weird part is, we know it's bad for us, and we still do it. We complain about being anxious, but we keep feeding the anxiety machine every 5 seconds. There's something really sad about watching people live through screens. You go to a concert now, and nobody's actually watching the band. They're filming it on their phones, watching life happen through their camera instead of their eyes. They're recording memories they'll never actually remember. We're so obsessed with capturing the moment that we forget to experience it. And the irony is, nobody's gonna rewatch that shaky, blurry video with bad sound. You're not gonna sit on your couch one day and go, ah yes, the magic of that pixelated blur. You're missing life trying to save it. And then there's social media, the world's most exhausting performance. You log in, and it's just everyone showing off their highlight reel vacations. Relationships, success, while quietly falling apart behind the scenes. It's like a giant theater where everyone's pretending to be happy, and nobody knows they're all acting. You scroll through that and wonder why your life doesn't look like theirs. You forget that you're comparing your behind-the-scenes mess to someone else's edited trailer. No wonder we all feel miserable. We're competing in a game that's not even real. We've reached this point where people can't even have real conversations anymore. You'll be talking to someone, and halfway through, they just glance at their phone like it's more interesting than you. And maybe it is, but still, it's rude. We've forgotten what it's like to listen without distraction, to be fully present. You can feel it in relationships, too. People are together, but not really. They're sitting next to each other physically, but miles apart mentally, lost in separate digital worlds. It's like emotional ghosting in real time. And the worst part? We call this progress. But what's the point of progress if we're all lonelier than ever? We got more ways to talk, but less to say. We've got faster connections, but weaker relationships. Technology gave us everything we wanted: comfort, convenience, control, and somehow it took away the things we actually needed: depth, patience, peace. You can't have silence anymore. The world won't let you. Every app is screaming for your attention. Every platform is fighting for your time, and your brain is just trying to keep up. You ever just put your phone down and sit there? It feels weird, doesn't it? Like you're missing something, like the world is moving without you. That's the addiction. It's not even about content. It's about the constant stimulation, the endless loop of checking, scrolling, refreshing. It's like being on a treadmill that never stops. Except the treadmill is made of other people's opinions. And the funniest part is, half the stuff we look at doesn't even make us happy. We doom scroll through bad news, then watch random videos to distract ourselves from the bad news, and then feel guilty for wasting time. That's the cycle: pain, distraction, guilt, repeat. And I'm not even saying throw away your phone and move to the woods. No one's doing that. You can't live off the grid anymore unless you want to explain to people for the rest of your life why they can't text you. But maybe, just maybe, we could start using technology instead of letting it use us. Because right now, it owns us. It tells us when to wake up, when to eat, when to sleep, when to care. We've turned our attention, our most valuable resource, into something for sale. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product, and our data is the new currency. But it's deeper than that. It's not just stealing our time, it's changing who we are. It's training all of us to seek validation instead of meaning. You post something, it doesn't get enough likes, and suddenly your day's ruined. You think, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You just let a number decide your worth. You've outsourced your self-esteem to strangers with thumbs. That's the saddest trade ever made. We don't even have real memories anymore. We have timelines. We don't remember moments. We remember posts. And the more we try to document life, the less we live it. Everything becomes content. Every smile, every meal, every view, all turned into proof that we exist. But you don't need proof. You were already enough before anyone saw you. You ever think about how quiet the world used to be? Like, truly quiet. You'd walk outside and there'd be no buzzing, no constant updates, no alerts pulling you away. You'd actually hear your own thoughts. You could be bored, and from that boredom came creativity. But now, there's no room for boredom. It's all filled with noise. And without boredom, you never get to meet yourself. You're too busy being everyone else's audience. What's funny is that deep down, we all know this. Everyone's aware of how much control these little devices have over us, but nobody wants to admit it. Because the truth is uncomfortable. It means you might have to sit in silence for once. And silence is terrifying when you've forgotten how to exist without distraction. We'd rather scroll through chaos than face stillness. But here's the thing, the moment you disconnect, even for a little while, you remember what being human feels like. You notice things again. You laugh at something without thinking about posting it. You look at someone's face instead of their profile. You actually feel present, not just existing between notifications. That's when you realize how starved we've become for real connection, not virtual likes, but the simple, messy, human kind. And maybe that's the answer, not to abandon technology, but to reclaim our humanity from it. To remind ourselves that screens aren't the world, they're just windows into it. The world's still out there, unfiltered, imperfect, alive. You just have to look up long enough to see it. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you missed half your life staring at something that was never really looking back at you.